What is going on, YouTube? I am Thanasi. This is the Maverick Files on the Money Shift YouTube channel. Today, we got light snow, very light snow, surface level snow. I would say snow that most all-season tires should have no problem driving through. Now, you guys saw the parking lot that we're dealing with. And we're gonna try driving around and seeing how these Pirellis do in light snow. And I'm gonna emphasize the fact that this is very light. Now, we're not gonna do anything crazy, okay? When I give you guys the keys, I don't want any donuts, all right? It's early and we're not trying to get the cops called on us yet. But we're gonna try to see what the difference is and how this Maverick behaves in the different modes in this snowy parking lot. Again, there's no one around us except for this giant crane. Check this thing out. So it should be pretty fine. So here you go. Please be safe. No donut.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. The Maverick's covered in snow. All right, that's enough. Here's what the Maverick looks like after 5 minutes of the auto start. It does a great job at clearing the glass of snow. Love that. Let's take a look at how the tailgate and how this new tonneau cover held the elements out. And, pretty good. Not so bad. We might do an extensive test with that later on when we get rain. But for now, let's get behind the wheel and let's see how the Maverick does in some light snow. All right, as we get behind the wheel, the maneuvers we're going to do today are simple. The maneuvers we're going to do today are straightforward, and the maneuvers we're going to do today are meant to emulate what a casual drive home would be with a light coating of snow on the road. Now, we're going to do this in normal, and we're going to do this in slippery, but let's start out and see how the Maverick does if you just sort of lay into it. All right, so we're going to press the gas, and we're going to slam on the brakes. Let's take a listen. Little spin there. ABS kicks in very early, but the Maverick does a good job at stopping straight. The ABS itself does a great job at keeping the Maverick straight as it slows down. The rear end doesn't kick out, the front end doesn't kick out, nothing like that. And you see as we take corners here, again, we're taking it easy. We're not doing any crazy speeds here, but the Maverick is handling it very easily. The ABS isn't kicking in around any corners. Now let's try that same maneuver, that sort of acceleration from a light, if you will, and braking under slippery mode and see how that changes. 3, 2, 1, go. Little less slip, but a little more gas. ABS kicks in super early, but it stops super straight. Again, we love that about the Maverick in these conditions. Now, if we were to give it a little more gas in the turns, let's see how that performs. Okay, we're going to take a couple of these corners with a little more speed to see how the Maverick handles that. Does the ABS kick in quickly, or is it just a straight through drive? Let's take this corner up here with a little more gusto and see what happens. Listen to that ABS kick in, and it just understeers wide. So that is a common theme here, okay? The Maverick's all-wheel drive system is tuned to be remarkably safe. It is more inclined to understeer and push yourself out than it is to showcase any semblance of oversteer, which is fine, but it's not the most fun, albeit it definitely is the most safe way and confidence-inspiring for folks that aren't akin or aren't accustomed or don't really like to drive in the snow. Listen to that ABS system kick in. Just as we give it a little bit of gas going around that corner, it really does kick in early and often, pretty much in all scenarios, in an attempt to make you feel as confident as possible in your Maverick. Listen to it again as we take this corner here. Again, we're only going 20 miles per hour, nothing crazy. But it's kicking in, and it sounds like a phone is vibrating at all four wheels, which is kind of nutso about the Maverick. Let's turn the traction control off and see if that changes anything in terms of the dynamics. Will this make the car oversteer a little bit? Will it do anything? Are we going to have more fun here? Let's see how the Maverick does. As we take this corner here, again, we're going at a slow rate of speed, so nothing really to notice here. But we're going to take this last sweeping bend in this parking lot here with a little more gusto and see what happens with the traction control off. ABS system still kicks in super early. It just does not want to do anything fun without really unsettling it, which is fine. Again, like I said, it's confidence inspiring for those that aren't accustomed to driving in the snowy weather, but for someone like me that just wants to have a little fun sometimes, this car might not be the best vehicle to do so. Again, you actually saw at the beginning of the video when I just lit up the pedal in this parking lot. The Maverick did not like it. It freaked the hell out at me, which was not fun to deal with. It was not fun to hear all those noises. But that said, overall, super nice to drive in this condition.
All right, we are back in the Maverick after testing out how it performs in very light snow. Now, I want to make that known. We're dealing with maybe a quarter inch of snow in this parking lot and 26-degree weather. So this definitely isn't winter wonderland, mountain road snow driving, but it does give you an inclination as to how this car should perform in light snow. Let's say you're at work and it starts to snow and you're on your way home and there is snow that just started covering the roads. Those are the conditions we're dealing with. So we're gonna break this down into 3 different sections. We're gonna talk about acceleration, steering, and braking. So during this test, what I had you do when you were behind the wheel was we kept it in normal and then we put it in slippery and we did the same maneuvers. We floored it, we slammed on the brakes, and we took turns with a steady state of gas, and then we also took turns increasing the throttle just to see how it would perform under those conditions. So what did we learn? Let's break each of those down to talk about them specifically. Acceleration, number 1. How did it do? And what changed from normal to slippery? Not much changed between the two. When you're in slippery mode, the throttle is a little numb, if you will, in order to promote a less trigger happy, if you will, throttle, okay? Slippery mode desensitizes a lot of those motions in order to not upset the car in low speed conditions. Overall, flooring it from a stop, you guys saw it got up and going, no problem. There wasn't much spinning, there wasn't anything like that. Now again, we're not in deep snow or anything like that, but it was able to navigate these conditions perfectly fine. So kudos to the Maverick, and these Pirelli Scorpios did just fine in these conditions. Number 2, braking. Now this is where things started to get a little off. Now I know it's snow and I know you need to compensate for braking accordingly, right? So if you normally brake, for example, 100 feet out in snow, double it, 200 feet out, and that's very true here as well. The ABS kicks in very early on to slow this vehicle down, but when you floor the brake pedal, it does a good job at keeping the car straight. There's no movement, the bias and the pressure is applied evenly, and as a result, you do come to a safe stop. There's nothing I had to do with the wheel in order to ensure my Maverick was pointed exactly where I wanted to. And then the last one is steering, okay? How did the Maverick do just driving around as if we were putt-putting around town, going at around 30 miles an hour? And I gotta say, guys, with a steady state throttle, I'm pleasantly surprised with how it did. It never wanted to kick out, and it didn't really even so much as understeer in those conditions. It was just driving as if I was on asphalt. Now, I will say that when we leaned into it a little more, it definitely pushed out and started to slightly slide, but I never once felt that I wasn't in control of the scenario that I was in. The Maverick did a good job of making me feel safe. But for those of you that like to sort of hoon around in the snow, you're gonna really have to push this thing in order to do so, the Maverick doesn't want to just kick out with a heavy application of the throttle and a lot of input on the steering wheel. If you guys want to do some hooning or some snow drifts or whatever, you're gonna really have to flick this thing in order to do so. It just wants to front wheel drive you out of it and maintain as much grip as possible, which might be a feature to some folks. To me, I like to kick it out. I like to slide every now and again, so having the ease of being able to do so is more of a pro. So in this case, that's a bit of a con. But overall, in light snow conditions, I give the Maverick an A rating in FX4 trim specifically. I never once felt scared. I never once felt nervous. I never once felt it did something it wasn't supposed to do or I wasn't expecting. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to today's episode of the Maverick Files. We will see you next time. Goodbye.